Listen to this. This is how I figured out also that, you know, amongst many other ways, that there really is something going on in what I call the occultation. Okay. This is like when you're kind of like being, whether it's by your ancestors, I'm not sure if secret societies had this level of power yet or whatever, but it's like you're being, we call it the occultation. That's the word. It's called occultation. And what it means is that now you're going to be taken through some type of lessons or some type of quests. And this is going to be exclusive to you. It's almost like nobody else realizes all this is even going on around you and could care less anyway, right? So when I was in Atlanta and I arrived, now I was born in Detroit, right? And I was raised in California. And at a certain point, I realized, so at a certain point, I ended up going to Texas because I had some cousins in Texas, and boy, whew, I broke off. That's how I ended up in prison. Like Texas was in every, so I ended up going to Texas as somebody from California. So you can imagine I had to ride real strong with the gurney, you know, diagnostics. I went to some of the craziest places. And so what happened was in that experience, right? And that's another thing, as I have another mission to eventually reach my brothers that are still locked away, because that's a whole nother esoteric thing, right? That's where the army is, to be able to drip this kind of knowledge in there so cats can cultivate, because you can actually break yourself out of prison through meditation. Like, you'd be surprised. They said, roll them up. You'd be like, what the hell's going on? I had 6 more years. They're like, the computer said it's time to go home. But, you know, never let go of your power. But what was happening was that I wanted to explain. So when I eventually got to Atlanta, because after I left Texas, did the time, then I went back to California. I was in California, and then everything was like just trying to get a better job. And, you know, I was sitting at the light one day and I was just counting the people coming across the light and their skin color. And I was just like, man, this ain't for me. And I kept hearing about Atlanta. So I decided I was going to put my 2-week notice in and go to Atlanta. So I came to Atlanta, I arrived in Atlanta. So I arrived in Atlanta right after Olympics. And Atlanta is really Atlantis, by the way, because when your third eye is open, you see that what the Masons have done in that place is like it's weird. I
this
can't
is
even
big
get
facts.
right now.
Look,
but they've configured this entire place.
No, you own to something. That's facts, though.
Right?
Yeah,
and
that's
then
big
that
old
subway
facts.
they got, and then what goes on down in
And the energy and the arts and the vibe and all of that. Yeah.
Yep, and Stone Mountain. That's another thing. That stone, that granite in Stone Mountain, that vein runs all the way to New York, all the way to the Great Pyramid. That is the same granite vein. Look at it. They have maps that show you the vein, and how in Elberton, Georgia also was a pretty strange place, because you only dig a couple feet down and you hit granite right away, right? So anyway, so there's something going on in Atlanta. But here's even more to prove. So they had this place called the Uptown Comedy Club. And the Uptown Comedy Club was a place you just kind of, you hung out. So when I got to the Uptown Comedy Club, it was right around time that Chris Tucker had just left. He had just blew. They had his picture on the wall. Everybody else in that room was Bruce, Shawty, JB, who you now see in Spider-Man, 85 South. So basically what I'm saying is everybody in that room became something, right? JB Smooth is his name. Me and JB Smooth used to sit outside. JB Smooth didn't even have really money. He came in there. Comedian is not a high paying job, as you know, right? So you'd be just shooting the breeze. T.I. come up the elevator. I just parked. I used to have I had bought this S-Type Jaguar. I get out of Jaguar. I jump in the elevator. But he's like, hold the elevator for me. Hold the elevator for me. I hold the elevator. It's T.I. T.I. walk in. He's sitting in the elevator. We start riding up. He got his head down. And I'm like, what's good, man? He's like, yo, man, I just don't know what's going on. I don't know if this music thing gonna work out, man. I'm like, are you crazy, man? Everybody bumping that new T.I. He said, really, man? I said, yeah, man, everybody love that stuff, man. That thing is gonna make it. He said, man, that made me feel better. So everybody that was in that room became something instrumental, but it all became something to work with this same force that, you know, we find following us around. Almost life after life. The ones that Kanye is speaking of half-heartedly. Life after life. It's like these people know to follow us wherever we go and just make money on our energy and our power. And that is a real thing, right? And that's just something to be considered. But I just wanted to bring up that example because I don't think that, you know, that somebody else would ever be able to just talk about that. Is that, how was it that everybody in that room?
Hey, you know what? People in the chat room said is magnetic ley lines, and I want to talk to you about that.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to get to. That
yeah, you got
that,
well, yeah.
That's where that where that building is is right adjacent to where that theater is in Atlanta.
Hey,
that,
look,
you know,
just like Harlem, the Apollo area and all the millionaires.
That's exactly what that theater is. It's kind of like an Apollo theater. Now it's next to the comedy club, but yeah, it's that ley line work. And then, but see what's kind of happening, and this is why I even bring this up, is that, so according to their annuals, what the Watchmen are doing is they're constantly moving around the stars, okay? And how that literally works is by finding someone who can resonate that star and hold that energy, and then kind of conducting them like an orchestrator through different experiences. And then when others are witnessing those experiences from that star, they become influenced through resonation. And then this is actually what is really morphing the field around us. And I think that ultimately what I meant to mention is again, that you talked about the mind and how technically whatever condition your mind is in is the condition of your reality, as I was explaining before, except for that we are mental giants in a certain way, meaning that our minds are really, really, really powerful, but we're taught that and showed that it's not. And that's what the trick is here, because if you don't really if you don't really experience how powerful your mind really is, then you can't accept that your mind, if coerced, can create an entire fictitious reality around you. You just kind of automatically assume that the reality was there first and you arrived, when really that's not how it works. You load into the reality.